I'd like to welcome everyone to the African Film Festival, Symposium on African Cinema. We have some amazing guests with us here today at the Dallas Public Library, which I'd like to thank for having us. And before we even get started, I would like to thank Kelechi Ike, who is our chief cook and bottle washer. He has run this whole show perfectly. Let's give him a round of applause. He's done an impeccable job. And I would like to introduce each one of our guests, starting with, right down on the end there.
Hi, I'm Randy Brewer. I'm one of the producers of Remand.
Okay.
That we shot over in Uganda.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Remy Mamadou, and I produced the movie Ziza, and it was shot in Maryland.
Hello everybody, I'm Kan Quintus, I'm the director of Reverse.
Hi, my name is Richard Mofedanijo. I'm an actor in Oloibiri.
I'm Wendy Stewart Kaplan, and my film is Fragile Beauty.
I'm Dr. Kula. I'm a producer from Atlanta, but I'm here representing Boxing Day, where I served as production manager and location manager.
I'm Debbie Lang. I am the producer and director of Cornerstone, which was shot in Uganda.
And by names of Tusime Henry from Uganda on Remand film.
And I'm Jim Gash. I'm also in the Remand film when Henry shot in Uganda.
So the opening question I'd like to ask, which is really the theme of this festival, how do we bridge culture through film? Okay, who wants to take that one?
Bridging cultures, I'll take it.
Okay.
So bridging cultures through film. Filmmaking is a way to get our voices heard, to get our stories told. So the way that I feel is the easiest way to bridge is to take the culture you're in now and mesh it with any other culture that you try to get a message out to. So what we do with a lot of the Nollywood, Gollywood type films is we try to cast local cast along with cast from the continent and then fuse the stories together and fuse the cast together and tell our stories that way. But it's very important because at that point you're able to reach both audiences. The audiences from the storyline you're coming from, which is an African tale, in addition to, you know, the Americans and the Europeans and all the other cultures.
Now, being that people are from different cultures, what kinds of problems can you encounter when you're doing that kind of thing?
Food on set is one of them. You know, how much of the Nigerian food we're going to have versus how much of the American food we're going to have, so, you know, things of that nature. And then sometimes our accents are a little bit different. Right. So when the director is giving instructions, we may have to listen a little harder to understand what's being said.
Right, because we might not understand what's being said.
So those are some things you can encounter.
Okay, so Debbie, I'll talk to you next. What did you encounter in terms of that when you were doing Cornerstone?
The challenges?
Yeah.
Well, the primary crew was American college students, but we hired local people to assist us, and they were fantastic. So they pretty much eliminated most of the problems.
So this is very interesting. You had American college students, and then you had local people.
Local people that helped us, and we train them because we want to transfer skill. Right. And so that when we leave, they want to do filmmaking, they can do filmmaking. Right. So for their own country.
I think both of you have brought up a really good point. You know, this is really how film, in many ways, can bridge a gap because people are actually learning from each other. Right. I'm going to move down the line. Jim and Henry, hi, how are you today? How do you think this applied to your film? Because you're a documentary. Jim came as a lawyer to represent Henry, who is in Uganda and in jail in this particular documentary. How do you think this applied to your film?
Well, most of our film was shot in a maximum security prison in Uganda, and getting permission to bring cameras in there was a challenge.
I cannot even begin to, what was that like?
Well, it was about relationship building. I had been there for 4 years, going back and forth, working with prisons. And as a result of that, developed trust. And part of the challenge is if you're going to tell a story about a country trying to reform its judicial system, you have to ensure that they trust that you're going to be honest and honorable and encouraging and show them for the heroes that they are as opposed to looking like they're to be pitied or something like that. And so it's all about relationships. All of life is about relationships, and developing those in the developing world is quite an important task if you're going to try and tell their stories.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, you're sitting right next to me here. What kinds of things did you encounter in the challenges in your film, made in Nigeria? It is a feature film. Okay, so you were using just regular actors, or you used people in the local village?
Our cast was multiracial as well.
Yes.
We had an American actor.
Yes, you did. And what was his name again?
Moses.
Great name for an American actor on that film.
And
Walked on water.
And we also had an American crew, sound guy, and the director was also American. And at least we got them dancing to our music.
that couldn't have been so pretty, though. I don't know.
Well, you know, it was a learning experience for me because sometimes when you have a foreign crew, it gives a different perspective to as an actor.
Right.
I'm used to directors from Nigeria asking me to do things in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And having to work for an American director, it's a bit different because we are, as a people, very animated.
Yes.
And a lot more expressive.
Right. I suffer from the same problem. As an American, I'm very animated.
So I had to moderate some of the things ordinarily that I would have done differently.
Like pull back?
Yes.
When they gave you the direction, did they tell you to pull back?
Well yes. So what I did was to try and find like a middle ground, knowing also that the film is going to go out of the African territory. So basically that was it for me, just finding that middle ground and making everybody happy with what we're doing. Sound has been quite a challenge in most of our early films. The newer films are better, and so part of the reasons for having a foreign crew is that there is a desire amongst a lot of African filmmakers to break the glass ceiling and be able to have an audience here in America or in Europe. And for that, you want to do a film that fulfills all righteousnse.
Well, all righteousness and all desires. And you just brought up a really good point, because I think we're talking about here the breakthrough of African cinema, meshing, with the rest of the world, a global cinematic experience. And do you think by having both kinds of crews there, it really helps it? You've got two different cultures. It's that bridge we're talking about.
It helps. I mean, at the end of the day, we all learn from each other, build friendships, across cultures, and we understand each other more. Since after the film, I've met, some members of the crew. We've kept in touch.
You have kept in touch. It's great.
Which is good for the business because we are constantly networking. So, filmmaking is like Dr. Kula said, is a big opportunity to bridge cultures.
To meet people from everywhere. You had something to say on that too. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we haven't had remind me about your film again.
Thank you.
Yeah. Reverse, which we are going to be screening tonight, yes?
Tonight,
very excited.
Yeah, I think that filmmaking is very important to bridge cultures because, for example, in Reverse was one of those projects that 3 countries came together to produce the film.
Tell us what countries they were.
It was a co-production between Cameroon, Ghana, and Nigeria.
Okay, very good.
So it was a very interesting experience because the movie even the cast was very diverse. We had a cast from 7 different countries.
Wow.
So I think film is a very, very crucial tool to bridge cultures because through film we can be able to experience people from different countries, their way of thinking, their way of doing things, and their mannerism and all of that. So it was quite interesting to me as a director to be able to work with people from all of these 7 countries. 7
countries is a lot. I mean, you certainly had to have had challenges on that set. I guess food was one of them, right?
Well, I think that Africa is one. Somebody from Nigeria, Ghana, the way they behave, the way they act, the kind of food they eat is similar.
Yeah, it's similar.
It's similar. Yeah, so it wasn't really a big challenge for me because
But Nigeria still has the best jollof rice. Just saying.
Oh yeah, that's true. What do you think of that? He just gave you a challenge. That's been a challenge for years. That's a challenge for years.
I'm very loyal to go with that. Yeah, so film making is a very, very important instrument. It's a great tool, and I'm very happy that I'm a filmmaker because it gives me the opportunity to experience different things, different cultures, and all that.
Great, thank you. Okay, right over, here. But what do you feel about it?
I feel, equally the same. And just to piggyback on what they've talked about, bringing different cultures. My film, for example, also had about 7 to 8 different countries
as well.
Represented in the movie. So, and similarly, you have people with different values, different views on issues. But being able to understand that and put it together in a film, it's important. And at the end of the day, the finished product looks really good. So that's all that counts. And for me, I think that's where we're going. That's where African films. That's what the future holds. Just being able to work together and just bringing everything together.
And it really is about that finished product. You brought up a good point, Richard, about working with an American director, because you realize in the bigger scope of things that film has got to be accepted everywhere. And I think that is a big thing in having the growth of the film industry. You down on the end there. Hi.
Hi, I'm Randy.
Hi.
So
jump in.
if we're talking about Remand, if you guys come tonight,
We'll
I
be
think
there.
one of the first things that you'll notice is it is a film about bringing people together.
Right.
It's a film about doing things not like I know better, I'm smarter than you.
Right.
It is how can we do this together? How can we love each other? I mean, and as a filmmaker, the cool thing is we all breathe the same air. We all believe the same way. And everybody has to work together. If you don't have a crew that loves each other and cares about each other and looks out for each other, which is why I do not hire any diva directors.
Yes.
It starts at the top. If you're not taking care of your production assistants and you're not respected from the top down, then how can you bridge culture? How can you change anything? And so that's what I think is interesting about filmmaking, is that it is very much a team. And you don't go around and be like, oh, you're a great director of photography, but you're from Kenya.
Right.
No, like half the time, all the good directors of photography are from somewhere overseas.
Exactly.
And the more you can't pronounce the name, the better they are.
And everybody knows I'm guilty of that.
So anyway, that's what I think about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting in that we're all here talking really about independent filmmaking, right? As opposed to these big budget, colossal Hollywood things. What I'm getting from everybody on the panel here, there's definitely a level playing field, the spirit of camaraderie and none of the diva stuff that goes on. Would you all agree that? Yeah. We really are, sitting and listening to this, we really are a United Nations.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next thing, independent filmmaking. What are the challenges involved with the budgeting and raising money? Because this was my first short, and it gets terribly expensive. How do you fund this stuff? If you were going to give advice to anybody out there that's thinking of going into this area, what would you tell them? We start over here first.
Well, what we did is found some people who believed in the end goal of what we were trying to do, and in sharing with them a vision for what the end product would be and what story it would tell, and how it would reflect, kind of in our view, God's creation and the spirit of working together across the continents. And we found some people who had money and a vision. And
I guess that's what it takes: money and a vision.
We similar to what he said. I kind of stumbled into what I'm doing because I was a journalist for a long time, and my first humanitarian film I did, people were moved and inspired by it. They said, "I want to fund your next film." So I basically put my blood and sweat in my first one, and the people just came. And so I did for free. The crew volunteered. Those kids spent a year raising money on their own to come to Africa. Spent their summer. And even when I went to the villages there, we had, as you said, you had to earn the trust. We spent a long time learning the culture and the language and earning their trust. They wanted to volunteer to help us, but of course we couldn't do that. No, we can't do this. It's just saying if people believe in you, the money will come.
Yeah.
And it did. And but we put up our own seed money first just to get it started.
Of course, right.
And because once they see you have skin in the game. And,
Well, you put your money where your mouth is. Yeah,
and,
I
they
think
see,
that's important.
you did this other one,
Yeah.
and they're willing to put the money up.
I just had that conversation on my way here. Somebody called me to produce their film, and I said, you need some seed money. Because anything that you're going to do, like for my film, I do big, kind of semi-big budget projects when it's my own movie.
So you need
And
more seed money.
Yeah, exactly.
Big seed.
So normally I put up half of it, and then I get friends or other people that want to participate. But the key thing for anybody who's just starting out, you really do need to have some sort of a plan, if you will, which I do have those. If you want to have examples of how to do one, I have professional plans that I've created myself that I send out to people when I want to solicit funds.
Right.
And of course I let them know I'm going to put up half or whatever it is, and then I need this amount to come from other people. But they need to see what you've done. And so luckily for me, I've done quite a few.
It's your pedigree. You have to show your pedigree.
Exactly. So I send that out with all the stuff that I've done, and this is what I want to do now. This is what the story is about, yada, yada, yada. This is the budget, all of that good stuff. So it is a marketing plan, if you will.
You have to have a marketing plan.
Oh, yeah. You have
together,
to get anybody to invest in what you're doing. And then the story has to be really good. Because some people come to me and they want me to help produce theirs, but if the story is not great, we're not going to be able to raise funds.
Exactly right.
Then it's a waste of time.
But what's interesting to me about that, okay, you work off of a script or you work off of a proposal or an idea. How do you know from a piece of paper that the story is going to be good?
Oh, that comes with time. I think you just know.
You're laughing. Wait, Richard's laughing. Have you encountered bad stories?
Oh, I'm sure he has.
As an actor.
As an actor, let's talk about the bad stories.
It probably won't be fair to say to talk about bad stories, but it is key that from paper you can see
from paper.
You can see the potential. Having said that, there are some directors that have artistic liberties, especially if they are writers, to keep working the script and rewriting even in production.
Right. Well, they should be able to do that.
I will confess here and now that, for instance, my last movie, The Wedding Party, which went on to become the highest grossing movie in Africa today. I rejected the script.
It's on Netflix,
I know it's
If it was on Netflix, you raised.
I rejected the script.
Well, why did you reject the script? What about the script?
I didn't like what it was on paper. And the producer kept saying to me, R&D, you must do the story. And I kept saying, I really don't want to do the story. And she said to me, look, I know the writer, put in your moments and write anything you want to write. Let's just do, I need you in this story. I kept saying no. Finally, I just stopped the money that I ordinarily I would charge, just put something more on it. And I said, then if you pay me this, I'll do it. He said, yeah, okay, I'll pay you. And
you can't say no.
And the film went on to become, again, because the director and writers, everybody kept innovating and working as we went along. But otherwise, it's like you say. Sometimes it's like a gut feeling. Some people say it's spiritual. If I read a script, I know from the go if I would like it, because I start working my character immediately. But if that doesn't hit me, then I always feel like that.
Can I interject? I have to say that by R&D, I sent him a script one time, and he liked the script. He says, I'll do this, but you have to change that. And I like that coming from an actor, because you want your actor to be comfortable, too, in what he's doing. But R&D will tell you straight up, nope, I'll only do it if you do this. But it's good to get that feedback from somebody.
You're controlling, aren't you?
He's good when he does stuff.
I have to say, he is really good at what he does. Your character, Gunpowder, and Olibiri, did I say it correctly? I work really hard to say things correctly. Olibiri? Olibiri, yeah. He was very menacing, very violent, and really left an impression on me. To prep for a character like that, what did you have to do? Is there an aspect of yourself, your personality that's that?
Well,
she's laughing.
Liberia for me was a turning point in my career because I had to drop weight for it. I was 120 kilos weighing before.
What is that in pounds?
I don't know what it is in pounds.
People out there that live in the United States.
I don't know what that is in pounds.
Do you know what it is in pounds?
Two something.
Okay, so you were over
And
200
and I
pounds.
dropped to like 95, 98 kilos.
Wow, you were lean and mean in that
I had
film.
to look lean. I was too fat.
You can't have a fat villain, can you?
Yeah, cool.
So tell me, you make films in Cameroon mostly,
And he hasn't invited me yet.
and why haven't you invited him to make, because he's Nigerian?
Aaron is a legend.
yes.
That's the way I see him, and he has been one of those people that inspired a lot of us. you know.
Inspired.
Yes, a lot of us. As a young actor, young filmmaker, I've always looked up to him.
Right.
And meeting him for the first time has been a great pleasure for me.
that's great.
It gave me goosebumps.
Oh, wow, this is just, it's all coming out here today.
Yeah, so he's one of the people that I really respect a lot in the industry. Now, talking about African cinema, African films, I think the biggest challenge that we face is market.
Yeah.
The market.
Is marketing or market?
The market.
The market.
Yeah, because if you look at Africa today, let me look at Nigeria or Ghana, for example. You know, Nigeria is too populated for the number of cinemas they have. They need more cinemas. We need more cinemas.
So it's
to
distribution.
Distribution, basically. So we need that, and we need the government, the African governments, to support us, the filmmakers. You know, we need more cinemas. We need more avenues that we can project our films, because if you look at Africa today, Africa is if not I think it's the most populated continent.
Yeah, it is the most populated continent.
Yeah, so we have the audience, we have the people that can consume our products, but I think what we actually lack is that avenue, that platform, and cinema is the most important instrument that we need to project these films. So I think distribution is our biggest challenge, and financing as well.
Right.
You know, because we don't have. It's not set up like here in the United States where you can go present something and get a huge loan and do a project. So you have to go through some little bumps before you can get.
Well, for
finances.
these smaller independent films, it's
Still
really
difficult.
you're jumping through the same hoops here, and just in terms of government supporting cinema, you know, big blockbuster things where everybody's in bed together, yeah, absolutely. But you know, these independent films, my God, we're all scraping and crawling to get that money together. So I say we can definitely connect on that level. You brought up something that was interesting though to me. You said more movie houses. What's the situation in just all these different countries in terms of having movie houses?
Let me talk about Cameroon.
Yeah.
In Cameroon, we have 2 cinemas.
In the whole country?
Yes, a population of 23 million right now.
2. Wow.
So it's quite sickening, because the people are hungry to watch the films. They are hungry for the products. They want to watch our films. They want to experience our cultures, because filmmaking, like we said, is the most important instrument to tell our stories and tell our cultures. But they don't have that avenue. You know, so that's one of the things that is going on in Cameroon right now. And when I just came back from Accra 2 weeks ago, and
From Ghana, yeah,
from
Ghana, yeah.
and it's a similar situation.
Yes.
You know,
In Ghana?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I think in Accra there were two
Silverbirds, that's it.
silverbirds.
Okay, I think just putting it in perspective, just so you understand it, how many screens, for instance, do we have in Dallas? Which I don't have the statistics for that. Outside of South Africa and probably Egypt, I think the rest of Africa will not have as many screens as Dallas and
No, definitely.
New York.
Combined.
Yeah. In New York, which is where I'm from,
It's all over.
there's theaters. This is a hard concept for me to understand, and I think, Richard, you mentioned this the other night, that there's not cinemas to show this stuff in, because in New York, I'm not kidding you, it's every block, and then there's the whole Times Square area where there's more cinemas, and you go into a cinema in a shopping mall in the middle of nowhere, and they've got 6 screens. What do you think it's going to take to get that in Africa?
Well, I can speak for Nigeria.
Yeah.
Nigeria has the most.
We
Nigeria
have the most, and government has some kind of intervention funds, and distribution now is like the major point that they concentrate in. There are all kinds of funds. Just a week ago, the government released a lot more money to support filmmakers.
They did. That's really great.
Some people came to Dallas here for some kind of training, capacity building.
That's
They have all
great.
kinds of funding now for capacity building, increasing the number of screens because the Chinese are interested in our films, the French are interested. In China alone, I know that over the last 2 or so years, they built over 4,000 something cinemas. Wow. In addition to whatever they have. So just to get that statistics all over again, there are more screens in New York than the entire Africa.
I totally believe that.
And we're dealing with, in Nigeria alone, we're dealing with 170 or more, almost 200 million people. And so if you even say it is 10% of that go to cinemas, we don't have, we have less than 2% number of screens for that number of people. So government realizes that now because there was a rebasing of the economy and they found out that entertainment and cinema contributes almost 3-4% to our GDP.
Well, I'm very impressed that your government has come on board.
Yes, what we're asking them now is not to intervene, but to have that
we want your money.
Institutionalized.
We want your money.
As a deliberate policy, not something it doesn't have to depend on which government is in power.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
Because we know governments can go flip-flop. I lived in Nigeria. Trust me, they overthrew the government while I was there. You know how it can be. So when you do a documentary versus a feature, what do you think in terms of how it's received? Are bigger audiences going to go to features or documentaries? What I've loved about this film festival, we've had really great features and we've had documentaries both small and larger. What do you think in terms of getting audience really turns people on? Let's start down here.
Yeah, I would say in the United States, this is just one guy's opinion, people watch in the theaters, features a whole lot more than documentaries. Documentaries is online or on cable.
But how effective though is cable really? Because people can sit in their home, they don't have to go out to see a feature, they can sit in their home and watch it. I would think that would bring in a huge audience. And we have channels like Sundance and all of those. Have either of you been approached by Sundance or?
Not Sundance, but National Geographic bought the rights in certain parts.
Nat Geo,
Viacom is buying the rights in certain areas, and PBS bought the rights in other areas, and
So we do have vehicles at least for our documentary films.
But those are going to be television as opposed to theater.
Right, but the masses like to sit home on their couches eating their French fries and watching Netflix. And watching Netflix. What about you, Deborah? Have you taken your film to any of those channels at this point?
The point of what I was doing is different from what everybody else is doing.
No, I know, and I'd like you to talk about that, which is why I threw that ball into your court.
The reason I did it, and it kind of snowballed into this, is I did it because I found a great story, and I did it for the organization, and it kind of just exploded.
Right.
And it's been shown around the world, and so that's how I ended up at this festival.
Right,
and,
which is great.
People are interested in it. And the thing that is important to me is that presenting positive stories about Africa, and specifically Uganda, and my message is people from America shouldn't do these stories. People in Uganda should be doing them. And I got upset with the press there because we had the screening and it was trending number 2 in Uganda. And this premiere, and the press was there, and I said, he's been here for 15 years, they've been there, where have you been? And they just, don't let people that look like me do these stories because don't let people shape your stories, get these stories out. So that's why.
Right. Can I hear an amen on that? We went to the southern Ethiopia, to the Omo Valley to make our film, and what really blew me away was people loved that we were doing it, but nobody else was doing it. Why am I there? We finance our own films, and like you, I hear of an interesting story. I was interested in telling the story of these 3 tribes in the Omo Valley that are being threatened. People don't know that as Africa develops, indigenous people are losing their ancestral lands, they're losing places to grow their food, they're losing their rivers, and they put in this giant Giba Dam, the Italians and the Chinese. You know, again, we have all this foreign power in Africa, right? What are they doing there in the first place? And obviously they've cut deals with the governments. Okay, that's something that we all go up against. And here we have these people that are being moved further and further away from the water. When we had this plan to shoot down there, particularly the Mercy people, which they have the clay plates in their lips. They've taken a particularly bad rap because the area that they were living in is very desirable for the government in Ethiopia to develop. And nobody was down there telling their story. And I don't know, like, I'm sure you experienced this. There's something in you that wants to give them a voice, you know, get the message out there. And the most gratifying thing in the film that we made, Fragile Beauty, was when I did the Q&As and no one was aware that this was going on, nobody. And I've done a lot of screenings, and I guess through film, like your story, through your documentary, or Jim, your story about Henry, through film, we can get the news out there. We can say to people, this is what's really going on. We're all bombarded day and night now because of, you know, social media and the internet, or how our news is given to us. But as filmmakers, we definitely have a power to create our own news. And I agree with Debbie. Let's make our stories good. Let's get the information out there, make it good, make films that people want to see that are not only entertaining, but educational and informative.
Can I say something?
Yes, absolutely.
This film showed in several places in Uganda and Rwanda so far in Africa. The thing that, when I showed up in Gulu, for instance, I was bombarded by the children and the people. As soon as they found out, you're the one. You're the one.
Right.
Let me tell you, this is the first film, the children are telling me this, first time I've ever seen a film or read a story where we are in the film and we are portrayed in a good light.
Wow.
And I heard that in Kampala. I heard that
everywhere.
Everywhere.
In a good light, right?
Everywhere. And on Facebook, they'll send me messages. Where are more films? Are there any more films like this? Please let us know.
Yep.
So I'm sorry my film's not sexy and full of blood and guts, but it shows good stories that give hope where there is none.
Right.
So
We're all about
do them.
I'd
Do
love to say something
Yes,
about everything
I
y'all
would.
talking
Jump
about,
right
because
in.
I'm loving everything y'all are saying. So my company is called Revolution Pictures. We're about 20 years old. And I believe documentaries are the way to really engage culture. The exciting thing that I would say about it, especially reaching the world in Africa, is Netflix now has more subscribers than cable. And that's growing like crazy. Amazon is growing. So the way to get opportunities for more films in Africa, one of the things we found is with Remand, you know, it was the little film that could, like all of ours probably, but a true story, amazing people, and we just started doing it year one. Then went and edited some of it, went and raised more money, went back again, and then when we finished it, we were like, who could we get, you know, to help us narrate this and tell the story bigger? And when Angela saw it, you know, within a week of seeing the film, she was like, I have to do this. And so I think documentaries is definitely the way. One of the other things I'll mention is in Liberia. I have a good friend, his name's Todd Phillips, actually lives here in Dallas. He decided, he saw the problem in Liberia of no water wells. And he went to Liberia and it was a mess. I mean, just disastrous country. But instead of just leaving or throwing money at them, he went back and he told people, this is a huge problem. We need to build water wells. But while we do it, let's make a documentary on how that will change the country. And so they filmed a documentary while they put water wells in, and you could see this is this village that these folks have, I mean, they're just dying because they're drinking dirty water. And then you see this village that has clean water and the entire change of the village. He came back over here to Dallas. He screened it and showed it to wealthy people, and those wealthy people gave him more money to build more wells. So that's good, doing good for other people, and using film to engage the culture and to, you know, affect change is an amazing thing. I have a project I developed with A&E that came out of some of my own story of forgiving others, and I'm working right now to do that where basically if people can actually see people face to face, like work out their differences, not for, you know, bravo drama, not to tear people down, not to use people, however, to, hey, I am sorry I did this, would you forgive me? And people actually doing that is the way, if you can use film to show people what can change,
That's it.
use it as a vehicle, it is so powerful. Too many people, and I'm not saying there's cool movies that are interesting to watch and sometimes entertaining that are not exactly the most positive thing in the world. However, we got plenty of those. We got lots of those. And so to me, documentaries, there's a film we did for ESPN 30 for 30. It's called Delaney. You should Google it. But it is another one of these stories that when I heard about it, I was just like, we have to tell this story. And for me, I'm about our revolution. What we want to do is we want to tell stories for those that don't have a voice.
That's exactly right.
Or
Well,
don't have the financial ability. Or I meet people that are, you know, in the middle of urban culture and they are bringing people together and doing amazing things and loving people in the midst of entire violence and hatred, and no one's telling their story. And they don't have a way to raise money. And if you can go in there and show this amazing Good Samaritan and show the good they're doing, and then bring it to others, because there are people that want to help, they just don't know.
They just have no idea.
They just don't know. So I would say the other thing is when we're talking about raising money, I really believe that is a powerful way. Is if you can just get a glimpse of what you're going to do and then show that, even if it's an interview, even if it's just, here's the story, I want to take it and show it to some people to try to get them around it. I mean, you can buy websites now for nothing. You may not do a website, you may be a horrible graphic designer, own it, okay? Don't try to do it. And can you do the logo for this, and can you put a little site up and tell the story what we want to do, and then boom, now you can email that to tons of people with your little interview and say, I need money. I need help. So that's what I love about everything we're talking about, is affecting change and affecting culture together, and using film to do that. Now, we're going to keep talking on this end.
We're going to pass it on down the line.
Thank you. If I may just go back to your previous question.
Yes, of course.
That we talked about being an independent filmmaker, what the struggles are. And I will say we have quite a few. I will say distribution is one for sure. Marketing is one. Piracy is a major one.
Piracy is huge.
And I think that is really what is affecting a lot of African movies. And I hope, in the near future that we do something to, help that issue. So now when we talk about feature film as opposed to documentary, I did a feature film. I am interested in, documentaries as well. And just listening to the panel, I mean, I hear a lot of great ideas and ways that we can do that. So it's something that I'm interested in. I think we don't have enough of that. A lot of the time, I think people focus on feature films. But I think there's a lot that can be told also from documentaries, and I think I'm interested in that as well.
Do you think the reason you don't have a lot of that it would be more feature-oriented in your country is because that's more entertaining for people?
I would say so. Entertainment is what people, want for many of the times. But I think when you do a documentary, many of the times you're telling people what they don't know. You bring attention to things that people are not familiar with. So I think it's a good way to go. First, you want to know for sure what are you doing, what are you interested in, And then what are the people interested in as well? What would sell to them? So it's very important when you do that. If you're going to go for documentary, you want to make sure the documentary makes sense.
Right.
I think that's.
And you kind of have to target your
Yeah,
audience.
you want to target your audience. I
Same.
mean, what are you trying to sell to them? What are you marketing to them? So it has to make sense to them, for sure.
So my last question, because we're going to wrap it up, what does everybody think about film festivals? Why do we think film festivals are so important? I'll start down there.
I'll confess, this is my first film festival.
We have a film festival virgin here.
Yeah, it won't be my last. I mean, I would just love going from theater to theater to theater to seeing which one's showing next and to see how people telling stories, because I'm a storyteller in a very different way, not in film, but in law, and it's great to see it on film, and I applaud all of you filmmakers, because some of these things I look at and say, there's no possible way I would even know where to start and know how to do this. I'm glad there's people with those gifts, and so thank you for that.
Thank you.
For me, I think they're important because it exposes the film to a diverse audience, and also offers critiques of the film, and see if you're going on the right path. And you can learn a lot from a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different filmmakers. I am one of those people, my friends in the industry call me the salmon that goes up the opposite way. I blow up the place in filmmaking. My fellow filmmakers say, you do the exact I'm the George Costanza of filmmaking. I do the exact opposite. But they like what I end up with, and they say, I never thought of trying it that way. I think I'll try it that way next time. So I have learned a lot, and I'm actually very honored to be part of this group of filmmakers. I'm looking at the films, and I think they're fantastic.
We really did have a great group, very diverse kinds of films. I've done a lot of festivals, and I have to say that we really run the gamut at this festival. This is, to me, is a very important festival.
Okay.
How do you think festival? Yes, Henry, please jump in.
Sorry.
Yeah, you just jump right in.
Okay, I really felt like I should say something about this African Film Festival season, because I feel like our problems in the developing world, which we are challenging, like which we are facing as a challenge, is being addressed worldwide. So I feel like, yeah, we are there in the developing world, but also the developed world already is thinking about us. I really feel appreciative, and I just enjoy it.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being here, and that your film is here, and anyone who's coming to the screening tonight, when you hear Henry's story, will be blown away. I know for me personally, I read about these kinds of things in the New York Times, but you never have the face of the person that it's happening to. So it's really been a great honor to have you here with us today.
Get an autograph while you came, because the guy's famous. He's famous in Africa.
Okay. For film festivals, I think film festivals are important, not just to showcase the films. A lot of times, depending upon the film festival you're attending, sometimes you can get distribution. A lot of people don't realize that too.
Yeah, you can.
A lot of the big ones will help you get distribution. And again, somebody may see your film, whether it's a documentary or a feature, and offer you some type of distribution. And something that you had said, I didn't catch your name down there at the end. What's his name?
Randy Brewer.
All right, sir, Mr. Brewer. I'll be talking to you
Randy
afterwards.
down at the end.
Okay, so I too just came back from Liberia and did a film, because I'm from there originally, so because of the Civil War, people don't know why the Civil War. And so our film addressed why that happened. It was because, people want to pretend like racism only exists in America. Racism is everywhere. Whether it's racism, classism, it doesn't matter. Any of those isms you will find in India, you'll find everywhere. So our film addressed the ism in Liberia, which is what caused the Civil War. So we want people to come together and bring that peace. And in our film, Vivica Fox was like the grandmother, so she was narrating the story, and in the end, she apologizes for the atrocities that took place in Liberia. So we need films like that where people feel validated. You have the Jewish people in America; they feel validated because they were apologized to. And so doing a film that addresses those kinds of issues is always important.
Right,
so,
and empowering them,
really.
Yes.
Well, I guess the importance of film festivals is the reason why we're seated here with different people, different cultures, different professions, and we're finding a common ground to sit down and talk. And just to add to the documentary thing, Africa is replete with stories like Henry and He's, you just pray that you are lucky enough for somebody who is consistent and persistent to find your story and tell it. It's all over the world. I mean, people are suffering from all kinds of injustices, all around. And it helps documentaries when they are narrated by famous people.
Yes.
That's absolutely
who
big.
ordinarily you will find in feature films.
Right.
I'm involved in 1 or 2 documentaries now that in Nigeria where I offered to do to do the narration, to volunteer to do the narration, so that I get some kind of traction from the but I'm happy to be here. I love film festivals. They present me opportunities to meet filmmakers from all over the world and learn from their perspective.
Well, what else can I say? The reason why festivals are good, this is the reason.
Yeah.
Right here.
I think that's so great. We're sitting
I'm
next
sitting
to
next
each
to the
other.
legendary R&D, so it's the perfect avenue. A lot of filmmakers are coming up, emerging filmmakers like myself. New films are made every day, and I don't think we have enough avenues to showcase those films. And it's thanks to festivals like this, the African Film Festival. I think we should give a round of applause for Mr. Kelechi.
Absolutely.
It's a tough job. I've been here for 11 days. I came earlier because we had a short film that the festival did. Yeah. And I've watched him all this while, how hardworking this guy is. The time he's putting, the energy, the sacrifice, even 2 hours, 1 hour. And I watch him, I'm like, I don't know if this guy's a machine. Sometimes I beg him to go and sleep. So it's a tough job, and it's because of people like him. And we are praying that other people should come up, because we need more festivals, we need more avenues to showcase our films, and this is the perfect avenue to do that. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, just exactly what everyone has said. I would say that the Film Festival for sure is a place to showcase our talents. It's a place to network. It's a place to meet people. And Taff has exactly done that for me and the rest of you. I'm sure you guys will agree. So we definitely need, more film festivals to showcase what we got, because I'm sure we have a lot to offer. And I know that the future has a lot in stock for us. So definitely, I'm all about film festival. And I've been to quite a few film festivals, and this is one of those amazing ones as well. So I like it. Yes.
Well, I'll wrap it up. The website for water wells in Liberia is thelastwell.org. You can go on there and watch, film a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody. I think it's awesome. I love what Henry said, is the more we can create and tell stories about Africa and the problems or things that can be changed for people that are doing good. And you can affect a lot of change that way, and Africa needs more of that, and every country does. So that's what we love about filmmaking. So thank you for everybody on this panel.
Thank you. I would like to thank everybody that came to support us here today. They came to support this amazing festival. Please tell your friends about it for next year. This is a young festival. It's growing. It's a very, very important festival. I think there's nothing like it, and I completely believe in what Kelechi is doing. So we've got your back.